So I use the Pro iCAN headphone amplifier with my various headphones, such as the Fosix TR00s that you see me wearing right now. And in case you guys are interested in getting any of these headphones you see here or these amplifiers, I will leave links down in the description below, so make sure to check those out. Alright, so now let's talk about the features of the iFi Pro iCAN. So the iFi Pro iCAN does have a balanced connection for headphones you see here, and I went ahead and bought the balanced Odyssey cable for my LCD2 Classics you see here, and I was able to plug in my headphones and use it with this amplifier in balanced mode, which gave me lots of power to work with my headphones. And I must say that I prefer the sound coming out of the balanced cable over the standard 6.3mm audio connector. So iFi says this might be the only amp you will ever need, and they might be right, because this amplifier can give you 14,000 milliwatts of power on the balanced connection. With that much power, it can pretty much drive any headphone you throw at it. The single-ended output power, on the other hand, is much lower, coming in at only 4,800 milliwatts of power. The iFi Pro iCAN uses a differential balance amplifier, which means it uses individual audio circuitry for the left and right channels. This in turn reduces noise and crosstalk, which gives you clearer audio. The iFi Pro iCAN can operate in 3 different modes, which you can select from depending on the sound you want to hear from it. With the solid state mode, you get a nice clean analytical sound. Then you have tube mode, which warms up the sound a bit, and it's one of the modes that I like the best. Then you have tube plus mode, which warms up the sound quite a bit, but I really didn't like the mode as I thought it distorted the sound a bit too much. And in case you're curious as to what type of tubes are used in this amplifier, they are the NOS General Electric 5670 tubes. So with this amplifier, you're going to get features that are not in any other amplifier, such as the X-Bass feature and the 3D audio feature. These features can improve or change up the sound depending on your listening preference. So if you have some headphones that don't particularly reproduce the lower end bass very well, you can use the X-Bass feature to add a little bit of bass to your sound and make it sound exactly the way you want it to. All this without adding any distortion with a flip of a switch. With the 3D audio feature, you get a little bit more of a light performance sound, and it adds some soundstage, again without distorting the sound. I personally did not use any of these features with this headphone amplifier, but some people may find them useful. Alright, now let's talk about connectivity and controls of the iFi Pro iCAN. Alright, so taking a look at the back of the iFi Pro iCAN, we can see the connectivity that you have available. So on the left hand side of the unit, you have one set of balanced left and right XLR inputs. Then you have 3 sets of unbalanced left and right RCA inputs. So for output on the back of the unit, you have one set of balanced left and right XLR connections, and then you have one set of unbalanced left and right RCA connections. It also has a connection for the iFi electrostatic iFi add-on module and a DC loop output. However, I didn't use any of these connections. Alright, turning the unit over to the front. So in the front, from left to right, you have the power button just down here. It's a small button right here that just clicks on. One thing to note is that this does take a while to turn on, so just keep that in mind. That's one difference between the THX AAA 789. When you push the power button, it almost immediately turns on. However, the iFi Pro iCAN does take quite a bit of time to turn on, maybe a minute or so. And it does have this very cool indicator in the top left, which illuminates, letting you know that it's warming up and when it's actually ready for use. And then you have the input selector knob, which lets you change between the 3 different unbalanced inputs and the 1 balanced input. And then you have the X-Bass knob, which has 4 different settings. You can set it to off, 10 Hz, 20 Hz, or 40 Hz setting. And below that, you have one of the most important switches on here, which lets you select the operation mode. So you can select between solid state, tube, and tube plus mode. And then you have a very interesting setup on this headphone amplifier, and that is because you have a left and right 6.3mm audio connectors, and you're supposed to use the one on the right for unbalanced headphone connections such as this. Just plug it into the right hand side and you're good to go. You can also drive 2 unbalanced headphones simultaneously using these 2 connections here, or you can combine them to use a balanced connection using a special cable that utilizes both of these connectors, which I doubt that many people will actually use those in that way. And in the middle of these 2 6.3mm unbalanced connections, you do have a 4-pin XLR balanced connection that allows me to use my Odyssey LCD2 Classics with a balanced cable, and I can listen to my headphones with a balanced connection. This headphone amplifier that has a feature that's of great benefit for you IEM users, and that is called IEM match. This will allow the headphone amplifier to match the sensitivity of your IEMs and will reduce a lot of that background noise you usually get with IEMs. And these are the connections you're going to want to use with your IEMs. So right below the left 6.3mm connection, you have a 3.5mm single-ended unbalanced connection that you can use for your IEMs or headphones if you wanted to. Then below the right 6.3mm audio output, you have a 3.5mm balanced TRRS connection for your IEMs. Again, that includes that important IE match feature. Moving on, we have the 3D audio knob, which lets you control the level of 3D audio, and you can set that to off or one of the other settings, which increases the 3D audio effect. Below that, you have the gain setting, which you can set to 0, 9, or 18 dB. Next, you have the volume knob, which is very high quality, has a good amount of tension, which allows you to turn the knob and adjust the volume with higher precision. In the bottom right of the amp, you have the infrared sensor for the remote control, which I honestly never ended up using. Alright, next we're going to talk about what most of you care the most, and it is how the iFi Pro iCAN sounds, especially compared to the THX AAA789. So when I compared the sound with the THX 789 to the Pro iCAN, I definitely could tell the difference. There was just a lot more detail in the Pro iCAN. Especially so in the high end of the audio, which is the treble region. You really would hear a lot more of the sounds that you really didn't hear that much with the 789. The 789 is a really smooth sounding amplifier, and if I were to compare with the Pro iCAN in the treble region, I would say that the 789 seems a little bit rolled off to me on the treble region, just because I really wouldn't hear a lot of that detail on the high end that I did in the Pro iCAN. So one of the reasons I brought out the DT1990 and the Odyssey LCD2Cs was I want to talk about how well these match together. And talking about the sound quality, I'll tell you one thing that I really preferred the DT1990 with the AAA789, and that's because the DT1990 can be a bit bright sounding. The 789 brings down the brightness a bit on these headphones and makes these headphones a little more enjoyable to listen to. On the other hand, if you take the LCD2 Classics and you listen to them, you will notice that they are a bit dark. However, when you pair these headphones with the Pro iCAN, they sound amazing. Probably one of the best combos I have heard, and I've heard quite a bit of headphones. This pairing between the Pro iCAN and the LCD Classic is just superb. For listening to music, this is my favorite combo so far. So yeah, just in terms of overall dynamics, the Pro iCAN just gives you a lot more sound to listen to, where the THX 789 is just a little bit less of that spectrum, maybe a little bit more compressed, if that makes any sense. While the 789 is more laid back and easier to listen to, the Pro iCAN has a bit more sharpness to it. And I would say it's a lot more technical, analytical type of amplifier versus the 789. 789 you want to kind of listen to when you're just relaxing, not paying too much attention to the details, but when you want to listen to every little detail, then that's where the Pro iCAN comes into play. So maybe if you're in a studio environment, you want to listen to all the little details in the audio track, this would be the amp that you would use. So same thing with the mid-range, the Pro iCAN just does a lot better job than the THX 789. Maybe the one area where the 789 does a little bit better is in the bass response region. So if you prefer to listen to your music and catch every little detail in a song, then I would say use this amp in the solid state mode. You're gonna be able to pick up all the small little details and everything's gonna sound really crisp and detailed. Now if you want a more relaxing sound and something a little bit more enjoyable, more fun to listen to, definitely switch it to the tube mode. It does take a little while to warm up the tubes and for it to switch over, but once it does, it sounds amazing. In general, I would say to stay away from the 2+ setting because it introduces quite a bit of distortion that I really didn't like, but some of you may like that sound. So in conclusion, it's true what they say, ignorance is bliss. When I just had the 789 amp, I thought it sounded great. I was like, wow, this is a really great sounding headphone amp. But then when I got my hands on the iFi Pro iCAN, it really opened up the music on a whole new level. I mean, we're talking endgame level. So yeah, while the THX AAA789 is quite affordable at $400, yeah, the iFi Pro iCAN costs more than 4 times more than that. But if you're talking